Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to study about the concept of agglomerative clustering. Agglomerative clustering is basically a bottom-up approach in which we start making small clusters and one by one we go upwards by combining all of them. There are basically two types of clustering methods. One is the divisive and one is the agglomerative. So I can explain it in this way, that in agglomerative we form a small cluster of two data points, then we join it with another data point to make it even bigger, and then we join this whole thing into a bigger cluster. So we started from small, maybe there is another data point, we can join them, and then we join them into another, and then we join them. So this is what we call bottom up approach. Okay, so now let's understand this with the help of an example. So let us consider that we are given with a gene which is measured in 5 experiments, and the experiments are A, B, C, D and E. So in the first experiment, the value or the size of the gene which was measured is equal to 100. In the second experiment it is 200. In the third it is 500. Then 900 and 1100. So we want to construct a hierarchical clustering. Basically this agglomerative clustering is a type of hierarchical clustering, right? So what we want to do is we want to construct a hierarchical clustering of these values of the genes. So if we are given in the question that we have to use Euclidean distance, then we will use Euclidean. Otherwise you can simply use city block distance. And you are asked in the question that you have to do the centroid linkage and agglomerative approach. Okay, the formula of Euclidean distance is that you subtract the first term from the second term between which you want to find out the distance, and you take the square and then you add the difference of their y coordinates and you take under root. For example, if you had any term which is defined in two variables, then you will add these two components. If there is some parameter or function that is defined in three variables, then there will appear a third term as well. Okay. Centroid linkage is basically the type of distance measurement approach in which you compare the centroids of the clusters. If you are asked to do centroid linkage, then you will calculate the distance between the centroids of the clusters. If you are asked to find a single linkage, then you will find the distance between the nearest points of the two clusters. So it depends which linkage methodology is asked from you in the exam. Okay, so first of all I'm going to calculate that the distance, right? So the distance between A and B is 200 minus 100. It is equal to 100, right? And if I calculate the okay, let me calculate the distance between all of these points. So the distance between A and B is 100, and the distance between A and C is 400, and the distance between A and D is 800, and the distance between A and E is 1000. So I can see that this is the smallest distance. So okay, I will select the shortest distance and I will join these two clusters A and B. So when I join these two clusters A and B, then I have to find out the centroid, the new centroid of these two data points. So I have to simply add them and divide them by 2. So if 100 is the centroid of A and 200 is the centroid of B, so now these values are added, so it becomes 300. 300 divided by 2 is 150. So now the new centroid of this data point A and B is 150. So you can write it down and you can make basically a dendrogram. Dendrogram is a diagram in which you place all these clusters on the x-axis. So I have placed A, B, C, D and E here, and I have placed their values as well. This is 100, this is 200. This is not placed as per scale, this is placed just randomly. So you can write 500 here and you can even write 500 a little bit on that side. It is not up to the scale, but the important thing is that I am joining these two data points A and B, and now their single central centroid is 150. So one step is done and two data points have been joined. Okay, now we will calculate the distances of this is one data point, the distance of this data point from the next data point, which is C. So 150 minus 500, it is equal to 350, and this is the distance between these two data points, and the distance between C and D is 500 minus 900, which is 400, and the distance between D and E is 900 minus 1100, which is 200. Out of all these distances between these data points, I can see that the smallest distance is 200. So on the basis of this smallest distance, the shortest distance, we will say that now I have to join these two data points D and E to form one single cluster. So now D and E data points can be joined together. So I will make a joining line between them, and they are now one single cluster. So now what we have to do is we have to find the centroid for these two data points. So D and E will be added and divided by 2. So 900 and 1100 will be added and divided by 2, will give me the answer equal to 1000. So this is the new centroid. Okay, now let's move forward and find out the distance between this data point and this data point. So DE minus C. So what is the value, or what is the centroid of DE? The centroid of DE is 1000 and the centroid of C is 500. So 1000 minus 500 is 500. Okay, what is the distance between this data point AB and this data point C? It is 350. It is the same as it was calculated earlier, and the distance between C and D is also the same as it was calculated earlier. So out of these three distances, we can say that the shortest distance is 350. So it means that I will now join AB data point with C. So this is my AB data point and this is my C data point. So I will make another line above it and I will join this AB data point with C data point. So you can see that we are moving from bottom to upward. That is why we call this approach as bottom up approach. We made two clusters on the bottom, and on the basis of that cluster we have made another cluster above it. So this dendrogram is showing that we are moving from bottom to upwards. Okay, so now basically we have joined A, B and C. So the centroid, the new centroid for this A, B and C data cluster is now AB 150 added with 500. This value 150 is the centroid of AB. It will be added with the centroid of C. 150 plus 500 divided by 2 is 325. So 325 is the new centroid value for this new cluster, which is named as ABC. Okay, so now the distance between this centroid, this cluster ABC, with respect to this cluster DE is equal to 325 is equal to what? Of course it is the only distance, so we do not need to find any further shortest distance. Of course this is one cluster and this is one cluster, so they have to be joined. The only thing that we need to find out is their centroid. So this 325 will be added with this 1000 and divided by 2, and it comes out as 662.5. so this is the ABCDE, a bigger cluster, a cluster which is on the upper side, which has grown from bottom to upward, and the centroid of this bigger cluster is 662.5. so this is how we have actually joined up all these gene measurements in the 5 experiments, and we say that they cluster in such a way that first of all the closest gene values in the first 2 experiments came out to be A and B, and so that is why we joined them in the first step. We calculated their centroid, and then we find out that the next shortest distance or the closest values are these two. You always make the decision of joining two data points into a cluster on the basis of their distances. Whichever distance is shortest, you join it first. So after joining AB, we join DE. And whenever you join two data points into one cluster, don't forget to calculate their centroid. And then on this after that, we joined AB with C because this distance was shortest. And after that, we joined this ABC with DE because this was the only distance possible. So this is how we perform agglomerative clustering, and it is a very important concept whenever you do hierarchical clustering and you want to join the data in the form of a cluster, and you want to find out what type of clustering or relationship exists between this data. So if you like this video, do like it and do subscribe to my channel, and do write down your questions or queries in the comment section so that I can elaborate upon that. Thank you.